What's up, guys? Back with another third gen video, and thanks to the previous owner or the guy at O'Reilly's that told him it was fine to top this thing off with green coolant. We're going to be doing a complete coolant flush. Got some proper cleaner to clean this thing out from anything that's potentially in there. It's going to be a multi-step process to fully flush it, and then as well, we've got a new radiator cap, overflow cap, and we're also going to be doing a new thermostat. I don't know which one is in this truck, whether it's a 190 or a 180. We'll find out once we pull it, but since we have had the wrong coolant in there, we want to go ahead and hopefully do all of the steps necessary to ensure that there's no damage to cause. So yeah, joy, appreciate that, love it. Either way, let's go ahead and start by draining that radiator. Step number one is going to be removing your radiator cap. We can just go ahead and then crawl up underneath here, and if your truck's tall enough, use a 5-gallon bucket. Oh yeah, now we got her flowing pretty good. That's still gonna take forever and a day for it to completely drain out, but we're gonna let that fully drain out, probably run a little distilled water through it, and then close this off and continue the process. So we'll let this drain. I'll catch up with y'all topside. Well, we're officially making a huge mess, but I think I've got some relatively good news. So the coolant coming out of the radiator does appear to be orange, but the coolant, well, you can't see it now because it's all freaking everywhere. Huge cleanup ahead of me. I pulled the tube off of our overflow, whatever you want to call that. And as you see, that's got green in it. So that's got green in it, but it appears that the radiator has orange in it. Who freaking knows, but that's definitely green. That's definitely orange, so we're gonna try to get it all out of there. Now, when you buy a used truck, you really are just guessing what the previous owner did and what he tried to hide and whatnot. My guess here is when he went to sell it, he noticed that this was either low or he thought it was low. And so he put that coolant that the O'Reilly's guy told him was fine in here, but everything that was in here was green. So that would be best case scenario, I guess. Who actually knows? You never do. I need a funnel. We're gonna go ahead and put distilled water in here, let all that flush out, and then we're also gonna put some in the radiator while we've still got it undone down there. So hopefully just wash some more of that out. This distilled water, you can get it at Walmart for like a little over $1. Way smarter to use this than just your garden hose. Yeah, there's a ton of green coming out. You wanna get all that crap out. Take a peek underneath, we'll see what she's looking like. Still orange, which is fine. All right, she's starting to come out pretty freaking clear, so maybe another jug of this. Good thing I bought like 12. And we'll get this tank fully cleaned out, and then we'll go ahead and stop the drain or plug it on the bottom of the radiator and start filling this thing up. All right, we're gonna go ahead and start by putting some water in there. Now we're gonna go ahead and add this Prestone Total Cooling System Cleaner. It says that it is designed for diesels. I looked it up, it's non-acidic. This is a mild cleaner. This is not one of the hardcore ones, and this is good for gas or diesel. And it says you might have to use 2 bottles of this if your system is over 3 gallons, which ours is, but we're just gonna go ahead and use this 1 bottle. Try not to spill this anywhere. Using the distilled water is also nice because now we're going to have all these empty jugs that we can pour the coolant in and dispose of properly. Now we can go ahead and remove this old crappy cap that's broken. Throw that away, and then put on our new piece. Just hopefully get it go on there without too much of a fight. There we go. Boom. There she is. Now we're gonna go ahead and crank the truck with the heat wide open. That way it's circulating coolant through the heater core. That way it's flushing that coolant out as well. And we're just gonna be topping off the water until it's full. Then we'll obviously put the cap on, let it run for the full 10 minutes, letting it get up to temp, allowing the thermostat to open up, circulating the entire system. Now on these trucks, normally they do have a little bleeder valve. This is a 6.7 truck. This with the high compound kit, it doesn't have that anymore. So for us to bleed the system, unless you vacuum fill it, we're just gonna be hopefully burping it through the neck right here, which fingers crossed, that goes to plan. But either way, I'm gonna go ahead and put some more water in here, and then we're gonna crank the truck up. Also, my very first cold start on this thing. Now on your diesels, they're definitely gonna have to idle a lot longer than your gas vehicle in order to warm up, but we got her all warmed up, heat's blowing wide open, everything should be circulated, and now we have to wait more for it to cool down in order to drain the water cleaner mixer out of there. So we're gonna go ahead and do that, then I'll catch up with y'all, we'll drain that out, and then we're gonna go ahead and do another flush with distilled water in order to get all of that cleaner out of there. And we might do it a third time. I don't think we're gonna have enough water. Doing it again should be perfect. And then once we do that, we're gonna go for a drive, ensure that everything gets properly smooth, I almost said smooth through the system. Everything circulated through the system, fully up temp, driving around for a little bit, and then we'll come back and actually do the coolant portion. Got her draining once again, so we're gonna let that fully drain out and then refill with more distilled water, and we're actually gonna go for a drive this time to really let everything circulate fully, and then of course we'll drain that again once the truck fully cools down, and then we'll get into the coolant over there. So, time-consuming process, that's for sure. All right, guys, well, we are up to full operating temp. That's why I wanted to go ahead and do a little cruise instead of sitting there letting the truck idle for 30 minutes trying to warm it up, because diesels don't really warm up very fast when you're just idling. They actually can cool off. So we want to just drive around, let everything circulate. As soon as I turn the camera off, I'm gonna hit the heat wide open. We're at full temp. Thermostat should be opening up, cycling everywhere. And so just being extra precautious, hopefully getting everything out, because if you do run the wrong coolant, there's a multitude of things that could give you potential issues. So depending on the coolant and your engine, it can cause sludge, or you know, the acidicness in certain coolants can break down the metal in your engine or radiator, and that can get passed through the coolant system, potentially causing a blockage. So our thermostat just opened up. It went to like right over 200, opened up back to 190. So that's awesome. But you definitely don't want the wrong coolant in there and then something go bad and then it cause a blockage inside your engine. That's definitely what you don't want, because then wherever that's at it's gonna get hot real quick, real bad. So I wanted to go ahead and do everything that I feel like I could. There is more steps you could take. Take the hose off, run the like a cycle through the heater core itself. You can pressure fill, or pressure, whatever it is, pressure fill, using a special tool, which is the safest bet to ensure no air bubbles. And had I bought one, I would have used it, because I didn't know that this one didn't have the bleed off, but that's been replaced. And there is, I think, an inline one that you could add. We'll probably end up doing that in the future. FedEx just want me to go ahead, so I guess I will. Listen to that big boy. Y'all, I'm gonna have the highest horsepower baby truck ever, because I can just cruise around and do that all day and I'm perfectly happy. Probably gonna 2G swap this thing with some kind of S4 something or another to make it actually sound insane, because with compounds it is extremely tame, but the power and delivery is just insane. We're doing our final coolant drain. Once that completely drains, we'll do however much distilled water we have left, just run it through the radiator. I forgot to mention, we did put our new 16 PSI cap on, and this takes forever for it to drain out. I would like to get the thermostat done today, but if we don't have enough time before it gets dark, it's not gonna be a big deal, because the truck hasn't had any issues with the thermostat opening and closing. It gets up to temp, opens, cools it down. So I'm sure it's fine. I was just thinking I wanted to go ahead and do that because of the mixed coolant, and I'm still not fully understanding how that stayed green and everything in the radiator was the correct color, but those two work together when they heat and cool. Let me know, because I'm not sure. But either way, let that drain, flush it one last time, and then we'll be ready for the new coolant. And if we have daylight left, we'll go ahead and swap that thermostat. There's not much to it. There's 3 bolts that hold it down, but you do have a sensor here, and then you got that guy down there, and probably remove that guy as well. But it's very accessible, and it's not gonna be hard to do at all. Just don't know if I'm gonna have enough time. Either way, she's draining. So now that we got our radiator fully drained, the petcock valve is back in there, we can go ahead and start putting coolant in this thing. We went with the Zurex by Valvoline. This is the G05. This is pre-diluted. It's for HD diesels. Everything that I researched, this was what we should be putting in the truck. Now, we do still have water in the engine and everything, so this might not be the optimal way to do it. You might want to get the non-diluted stuff That way you can kind of estimate how much water is still in there to get the mixture correct. Once we fill this thing and driving everything, because it's almost too dark to work and I got a hot date with wifey because our son's getting dropped off at grandma's. So we got to hurry up. We're going to do the thermostat on another day. It's currently still working beautifully and it's not that bad of a job, but I don't have time today. But when we do that, we'll be draining some coolant. So once everything is circulated after we drive it, because it's getting down below freezing tonight, so we don't want to leave that water in the block. We'll drain some and then put more of this in there and it'll get our mixture closer to where it's supposed to be. But we do still have water in there and something to note either way. I'm gonna quit yapping. Let's get this thing filled up. And these bottles are an absolute nightmare to pour. Do you flip these upside down? Is that how it is? Is that what? There's no way. Maybe sideways? Sideways the move? Oh, sideways is definitely the move. What was I doing? You can see the color of this, whether or not that was what was all in it, who knows? This might be the original radiator from 2007. So it could be crusty rusty, and that's the color that was coming out. Either way, new fluid going in, maybe do a new radiator at some point on this thing. But for now, we at least know what's actually in there. Oh, there she is. So this is the third one, fourth, this is the fourth one. Keep slowly filling her till it's all the way up before cranking it. Get out here, Chewy. You out of here? Love you, bud. Have a good night.
Love you.
You know, you got kids? They staying at grandma's tonight, baby. Let's go. All right, guys, doing another test drive now that we got everything bled, which we'll probably have to go back and possibly add some. We'll just have to see how much air I actually got out of the system once it cools and everything. But the truck is fully up to temp. It already just did its first thermostat cycle. So we're getting everything circulated, which is what we want. Like I said, ladybug, last thing you want is to leave all that water in there and then it freeze and freaking crack your block or something. So, going for a nice little drive and ensure that it all gets cycled around. Is the ladybug on me? What is on me? I don't know, but I was all hyped, dude. I was so freaking stoked because I was gonna get everything done aside from the thermostat today, and then we were gonna be able to take this to go get dinner. But I forgot we still haven't fixed the headlight issue because the headlights don't work and it's fixing to be dark. So, dang it. I was freaking hyped, man. First time taking this thing out on the town, and I was excited for it. But unfortunately, that is not going to happen. I did email Alpharex and ask for some insight. Of course, they emailed me back asking for like an order confirmation where I bought them. I haven't emailed them back. We'll have to see if they end up helping me out at all once I tell them I bought the truck. I didn't buy the headlights, but technically, whatever the case. Anyways, coolant's 194, got up to 201, thermostat kicked, brought her down. So it's probably overkill to even have to change that thing, but I kind of wanted to see what it was, if it was a 180 because race truck, or if it was a 190, which is factory. I bought a 190 to go in here, but y'all can let me know if I should do 180, if that's in there, leave it in there, or do a standard 190, I don't know. So to end the video off, I wanted to tell y'all exactly what I ended up doing. So I really didn't take into account when doing the flush how much extra water was going to be in the system. And you will get some conflicting results if you Google how much these actually hold in total capacity of coolant. Online, I'll tell you anywhere from 6 to 9 gallons, which that's a big difference. But we were able to put like 4 1/4 in the radiator and the reservoir. So that leaves quite a bit potential water left in there, and using the 50-50 mix, all extra water is going to dilute that from a 50-50 down to a 40-60 or even lower than that. And you don't want that. You're probably seeing this video a couple of weeks after the whole ice age that we got going through here. It's supposed to be single digits this week in Alabama, which is not typical, but I was a little bit concerned with that freeze point being higher than I wanted, and so I went ahead and drained 1 gallon out of the radiator and then put 1 gallon of the non-diluted coolant in there. That's going to bring our mixture up higher to that 50-50 mix of water and coolant, which is what you want. Definitely don't want this thing freezing potentially anywhere close to the actual freeze point of water. Now, it's not going to be that because it does have coolant in it, but the 50-50 is 50 water, 50 coolant. And then you take into account the additional couple gallons of water that's left in the system. Is going to bring that down closer to a 30% mixture of coolant, which you don't want. So probably just start off and be cheaper by using the non-diluted and just use distilled water with it. Does take some, a little bit of thinking to do so, rather than just dumping the 50-50 in there until it's full. But by adding this gallon of the non-diluted into the system, it's going to get that closer to the 50-50 mix, which is going to give our freeze point a much lower degree. So I'm just going to feel better about it doing it that way rather than possibly having like a 30 or less than that percent. Chat said it was like probably a 33% coolant to water ratio. That's a little too low for me. So went ahead, threw a gallon of non-distilled in there, and we're just going to bleed the system, drive it, make sure everything's topped off with non-distilled, and that should give our coolant the proper percentage. So, holy moly, man. Been out cruising around in the truck, just making sure everything gets properly circulated, and I got my new tag, which you probably already saw in a different video, but if you haven't watched any of the other ones, freaking land yacht, son. Yes, sir. She is a certified land yacht, being a mega slab. Unreal. So I've probably driven the truck a solid hour at this point, and she's loving life. Everything is nice and cool. Our coolant has circulated for many cycles. So we'll get back to the house, let her cool off, and double check our level, but she should be good to freaking go. So hope y'all enjoyed. Drop a comment, leave a like, subscribe if you're new. Ring that bell notification. See y'all boys in the next video.